Hello, I am Dr. Tanmay Das. Good evening and welcome. I hope you all can see me and hear me clearly. And welcome once again to this webinar. Despite of all the other webinars that are going on now, this is going to be the second part of the my Saturday podcast series. So as usual, I am going to give some disclosures. Like last time, I told you that why me. Now, for those who did not attend last time, I would like to repeat that I am an anesthesiologist, and I practice cutting edge acute care medicine, where I save lives every day. But at the end of the day, what was bugging me over the last few years is that what am I doing? I'm like Charlie Chaplin in modern times, just tightening screws in an assembly line, although saving lives every day. And I was not doing anything to get to the root of the diseases, the chronic diseases the people are suffering from. And what really made me sit up was when it hit me personally. That story I told you last time. So that was about 10 years back. I had a lot of metabolic problems, and which instead of going the conventional way, I did some research, and I managed successfully to reverse all my metabolic conditions. And with that research, it kind of I dug into the science very deeply, and during all these years, I've helped many people to reverse their metabolic conditions. And now I'm here to share all those things with you. So yes, I am listed as a low carb specialist in a couple of international websites, but I do not get any financial reimbursement from there. I do not take. All this knowledge is for you. And these are the disclaimers. Once again, it is very, very important for you to remember that these webinars, which I am going to be doing, are for informational purpose only. And what I'm going to share with you is designed to help you to make informed decisions about your health. It is not intended to serve as a substitute for professional medical advice. You must consult and work with your doctor to make any changes in your lifestyle, especially if you are on medicine. Now, once again, here you might come across a peculiar problem that your doctor, you may not find a doctor who will, you know, agree with all the things that I am going to tell you. So that is why this webinar. I am going to give you the information. I'm going to arm you with the knowledge so that you can discuss with your doctor that the science has changed there, and doctors are very much they want evidence. So the science has changed, the evidence is there. So there is no longer we should continue with the old method of treating every ill with a pill, and you can actually have a healthy lifestyle. So my hope with this forum, and for that, on that note, I would like to thank HCP Forum for inviting me and allowing me to come here. And since this is a forum of healthcare practitioners, I hope to reach as many healthcare practitioners as possible, because if I manage to influence even one person, that a change in the chronic lifestyle diseases is possible, and that is going to affect many patients. So this webinar has a dual purpose that way. Okay, so a quick recap of what we discussed last time, for those who did not attend, or for those who attend, if you want to refresh your memory. So as a species, human beings, Homo sapiens, we have never been so sick before, if you go back millions of years. And today, lifestyle diseases are the number one killer, not only all over the world, but also in our country. And the number one cause of these disorders is poor nutrition, although other factors also come into play, as I'm going to tell you. And at the heart of all this comorbidity is something known as insulin resistance. This is a term which I explained last time and taught you. So this is a part of the language which I'm going to use in my future seminars. So, and all these chronic metabolic disorders are either caused or aggravated by insulin resistance. So Are you insulin resistant? Very odds are that you are. So let's find out. So I'm going to do a poll today on a slide which I showed you last time. So let me tell you one thing. As the polls are coming up, if you feel that the questions are a bit personal, you don't want to answer, it's fine. Do not participate in the poll. If you feel free, you are free to answer. Otherwise, it's just fine. So here is the poll. Can you conduct? I think these are the 10 questions. You have to answer in yes or no. And Vijita, you can start with the first question.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So,
So first question is, do we constantly crave sugar or starchy food?
sugary or starchy food? Yeah.
Yes.
So we are trying to find out whether you are insulin resistant or not.
Yes, sir. So we are getting response yes and no, almost 50-50.
It's very interesting. Yeah. Many of us, most of us crave. We are
Right.
all addicted to sugar from right from our childhood.
Right, sir. So I
Yeah.
think we can take this and end the
Yeah.
poll.
Yeah.
We have got 56 to 58% yes,
Hmm.
and rest is no.
Which is pretty good actually. Before you go on to the next one, because most people have a craving for sugary and starchy food. Now, as I told you last time, all carbohydrates, they are non-essential nutrients, but still we get we keep on eating it throughout our lives, and especially nowadays we eat all these refined carbohydrates, and that causes something known as a addiction. And this addiction is, you crave for something which your body actually has no need of, and that causes all the metabolic problems. Okay, next one.
Yes, sir.
Do you have fat around your belly? This is, I think, you're free not to answer. But if you can stand up and pinch your belly, even get an inch over there, you have fat.
So I think more on yes.
Yeah. Hmm. This problem is very, very, very common. As I told you last time, um, the number of obese people in the world outnumber, or I would say, number of people who have excess of fat in the body, stored fat in the body, outnumber those who do not, for the first time in human history. So that is what the magnitude of the problem is.
So, sir,
Uh,
93% says yes and
oh my God.
6% says no. So we are
Oh my
ending the poll
God.
here.
Yeah, I have nothing to say, just that it illustrates what I am trying to talk. And this is the
Right.
basis of the whole problem. So, as I said, I'll repeat it. Even if you can stand up and pinch your belly and have an inch of fat out there, excess, that means you are over fat. Okay, question number 3. Have you been frustrated by failed attempts to lose weight with a low fat diet? Most people, they tell you to have a low fat diet when you are fat and when you want to lose weight. So, question number 3, right?
Yes,
Right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah.
So I think this is very common thing with
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. Everyone has tried it. Even
Right.
I have tried it. I tried it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the percentage?
So here also same thing, sir. 60%
90?
says yes and
Uh,
40% says no.
okay.
So I'll
No.
just end the poll here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's very common because low fat diets, they really don't work. Okay. Question number 4. Do you have high blood pressure or sugar? You can say, I think one of the answers is I don't know. I think you should be knowing if you have high blood sugar or high blood pressure.
So we are getting the answers.
Right.
So we have got yes
Mm-hmm.
43% and no 56%.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yes.
Pretty good.
So just end it.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty good. No comments on that. But yes, the next one. Do you have high triglycerides? Not know it, so I've given a third option. Unless you do a blood test, you won't know.
So we have got 30% of yes and 70% says no.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay. That's pretty good.
yes,
Okay.
I'll just end here.
And fatty liver also you would not know unless you have done a ultrasound. So that is also optional answer for you. Question number 6.
Right. So here also, I think no is more than yes. Yes is
Okay.
almost more than 40%, and the other is no.
No, yes. I-
Yes is 40%, and no is
Fatty
60%.
fatty
Fatty
liver,
liver.
yes, 40%.
Yes.
Oh my
So I'll go with the next question then.
God. I'm really alarmed. Because yes, fatty liver is very, very common. It is, and it is not a good thing to have. But the
Mm.
good news about fatty liver is it is very quickly reversible, unless you have reached grade 3 and grade 4. Okay, this dark patches of dark colored skin occurs usually in obese people. In the folds, in the arms, in the neck. So I don't know whether you have noticed it, but it is a sign of insulin resistance.
So, do you have patches of dark color skin? So that would be the
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
So uh, here we are getting more on no. So
Okay,
20% is saying yes, and 80% is saying no.
okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the ninth one. Do you have a family member with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes mellitus?
Yes. I think this
Okay.
time more on yes. That is
Yeah.
almost 60% in yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Okay.
others are no. Even
Okay.
more than 60%, it's 62% says yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
37% says no.
Do you have a family member who have had gestational means diabetes during pregnancy, and PCOS means polycystic ovarian syndrome, which affects young girls or affects ladies. Vijita, is it possible to have another question? Put up another question.
Mm,
Like
just
how many got all no? Because if
Yes,
you
sir.
have
We'll be able to do that. We'll be able to do that.
yeah, okay.
Let we finish this
Yeah,
poll,
yeah,
then we can
yeah.
have it.
Okay,
So here, sir, we are getting more on no.
okay,
So 21% is saying it's yes, and
okay.
78% is saying no.
That's good. 21%
Right,
is also quite significant.
right.
Okay, so that's it. The polls.
That's
I
it, sir.
think by now a lot of how many people have joined till now?
Sir, 60 people already.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so I would like to know. What I would like to tell you is that even if you have answered one or more questions as yes to this, it is odds are that you do have insulin resistance. So if there is anybody who has answered no to all the questions, that is the percentage I would like to know.
The poll is here, sir. The poll is
Yeah.
going on. All questions
Okay.
yes, all questions no. The poll is going on.
Okay. Okay. All questions no, I want.
Yeah, we'll get that answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So we have 42% no. 42%.
Okay. Okay.
42%. 45 now.
All no to all questions, right?
No to all questions. 45%.
Fantastic. 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 Okay. That's what I wanted to know. So your half of you are, absolutely healthy. So that's great. Okay. So this is a slide which I showed you last time. Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I will start once again with this slide, which I showed you last time, that insulin resistance being the center of all these metabolic disorders has is either caused by insulin resistance or aggravated by it, as I told you. So today I'm going to discuss this disorder, which I have underlined. Body fat is a better term than just saying obesity. So we are going to discuss excess body fat, which is harmful to you. Okay, so let's find out. So if you have a look at this book, which has been published by the government, which is the Center for Science and Environment, and they have kind of elaborated on the lifestyle diseases of the country today. And they have said that actually we are undergoing an epidemiological transformation in our country today. India is unfortunately a double burden of diseases. Now we have diseases of the poor, from tuberculosis to cholera to malaria, and all those things are there. But we have also added on the diseases of the rich, like the non-communicable or the lifestyle diseases. So these lifestyle diseases have now crossed all barriers of economy, and they affect the rich, the poor, and the middle class alike. And the numbers are mind-boggling. I told you some numbers last time. And that they have also concluded that we have a looming health crisis in our hands. So if you look at their pages, actually couple of pages, the first thing they've identified is obesity, that this is a problem. And like a very typical approach they have, they said call for change in approach towards diet, yes, and physical inactivity they have blamed it on. And they have also said that we live in a obesogenic atmosphere, like so many things contribute to obesity, not only the diet, but they are partly right, yes. Monosodium glutamate, which is a part of your Chinese food and KFCs, and many other, and drugs, and soy products, and arsenic, and so many things which are also contributing to, but they missed out the biggest possible thing, which are the uh, refined vegetable oils, which I have promised you that I'm going to take a full session on that. It is so very important, and is the biggest factor which contributes to obesity, because that is a direct inflammatory agent. Okay, so they have kind of tried to give you the percentage of black being men, and no, sorry, men is in red and women in black, the percentage of obese people all over the country. But I think this is a gross underestimate. because this is the data, actual data which I showed you last time, that it is not that the fat you see, but the excess of body fat which is in the body. And in India, we have something known as the people who are thin but obese, the thin outside, fat inside, the fat which is there in the visceral organs, in the abdomen, in the liver, around the heart, which actually is much more dangerous. So if you take that into consideration, in our country, nearly 80% of our population is over fat. That is the term which I explained last time. And they are the ones who are at very much at risk for metabolic diseases. So now we are going to answer this question today. So why do we get fat at all? Why do people gain weight? Since so it is a global pandemic, we need to get to the bottom of this. So if you look at the first law of thermodynamics, this is what is taught classically: energy can neither be created nor destroyed in a closed system. And that is right. So if in a body, if you put in energy, and that much energy will come out. So the calories, this is the basis of the calories in and calories out theory. So based on this, if you eat more, you have to exercise more. That the theory comes from that. So what happens if you put calories in and then calories out, and whatever is excess which you cannot put it out will be stored as fat. So this is the understanding that most of us have today. Even World Health Organization, if you see, they also believe in this. They say that they have acknowledged the fact that obesity is a pandemic, and because they say that it is an energy imbalance between calorie consumed and calorie expended. So they also believe in this calorie in and calories out theory. So there has been a increased intake of energy dense food like high fat and sugars, no doubt, and then increase in physical inactivity. So they are saying that there is less of exercise which people are doing, and people are sedentary in nature. People are sedentary, and they are blamed transportation and increasing urbanization for the obesity. So is that really so? Let's try to find out. So basically, what we believe nowadays is that we get fat because we eat more and we exercise less. So this is kind of really ingrained into us so much that I have made it a mission to spend some time and really get to the bottom of and really argue like a lawyer today. So this is the most commonly believed hypothesis, that we eat more and we exercise less. So on the basis of that, we tell people, you go to a doctor, go to anyone who advises you. They say, I want to lose some weight, he'll say you eat less and you exercise more. That's it, and it will work. Eat. So let's find out. Actually, if you really try to get into this, you will understand that under eating has been something which has been tried for decades. People have there is this is the most common thing people do when they say that I am dieting, means I'm eating less of what I'm supposed to eat. And there will be hardly an overweight or obese person who has not tried to eat less. Everyone tries it. If you want to lose some weight, I tried it. But what happens is it makes you more hungry, more weak, frustrated, and hopeless at the end of the day. So most of the time what happens, you end up eating more, and instead you gain weight if you try to eat less. So don't take my words for it. Let's see what are the studies. This concept of eating less has been there. People have tried to study it in medical scenarios, in clinical scenarios. It started in way back in 1959 with Stunkard and colleagues. They tried in their clinic to make people eat less, but somehow it didn't work. And they were thinking, what a paradoxical thing. This is a common belief, but somehow it doesn't work, because they may lose a little bit of weight, and then once they again go back to the normal diet, they come back, they land up with even heavier being than they were before. Okay, the second one, the Women's Health Initiative study. Now, this was actually studied for to whether eating less, low calorie diet prevents heart disease and cancer. But the weight was also followed up. This was a very big study, some 48,000 patients. It was done in early 90s. And out of the 48,000 patients, 24,000, half of them were put on a low-fat diet. And in the study arm, I mean, for those who have studied the 24,000 patients, the women ate a little bit less, 20% less calories. That is 360 calories less every day than the usual. So the logic was, if 1 pound, they calculate according to pound, if 1 pound of fat is equivalent to 3,500 calories, so by eating less, 360 calories less per day over a period of time, say they were expecting that over a period of, in first 3 weeks they should lose around 2 pounds, which is slightly about a kg. And over a period of 1 year, they were expecting the patients to lose around 36 pounds, which is around 16.4 kgs. But what really happened? After 8 years, not 1 year, after 8 years of follow-up, these women lost just about 2 pounds, that is 0.9 kg. And the average waist circumference, which is a measure of abdominal fat, which I told you, that actually increased. So whatever they lost, and that was not fat, but it was lean muscle. So then what happened? So why did it happen, do you think? After studying for 8 years, and all these women, they ate 20% of less calories per day. So one possibility is that the researchers failed to assess how much these women really ate. These are sometimes done through questionnaires and all. So maybe they didn't really eat 20% less. Maybe they just said so. Or possibility number 2 is that what they were trying, or the under-eating did not do what it was supposed to do. So this was the Women's Health Initiative. Now, the Tufts review, that is the Tufts University, they also did, they did kind of what is known as in medical science a meta-analysis. They analyzed other relevant drug trials or trials since 1980. And they found modest weight loss. It should not be drug trials, it should be nutrition trials. They found modest weight loss, and the weight loss was very, very transient. And the closest actually they came to, any group of scientists came to success was this particular group, Blackburn and Bistrian. Now, they did this study in Harvard in 1970. So they began treating obese patients with a 600 calorie a day, which is pretty low calorie, of only lean meat, fish and fowl. And they treated thousands of patients. Actually, and they found that half of them lost more than 40 pounds. That means around 1670 kgs. And they said it is extraordinarily effective to get large amounts of weight loss. But then Bistrian and Blackburn, they gave up the study. Why? Because they didn't know what to tell the patients to maintain their weight loss. So the patient could not be expected, no one can expect to continue with just 600 calories a day. And if they return to eating normally, they would again put on weight. So the only medically accepted alternative was to give the patient drugs to kill their appetite, which the researchers were not willing to do. Okay, so this is what happened with Blackburn and Bistrian. And another study was done in Harvard in 1998, which is the dietary treatment of obesity. It was one of the largest studies done actually, and they enrolled actually 800 patients who were overweight, and they were also given 4 types of diet, which was very low calorie, just 750 calories per day. And patients were also given intensive behavior counseling, because usually what happens is when you eat such low calories, you feel very, very, very hungry. And so they needed counseling, they needed motivation. But the subjects, they did lose some weight. On an average, they lost quite a bit of weight, say around 50 pounds, which is around, say 22 kgs, 23 kgs. And but sorry, they began with 20 kgs overweight, but they lost only 9 pounds. I'm sorry, which again they gained back after 1 year. And the last mention which I have made is this is a textbook which every doctor knows, Jocelyn's Diabetes Mellitus. And here, this chapter on diabetes, actually, the chapter on weight loss was written by a doctor called Jeffrey Flyer. Now he described the reduction of calorie intake as the cornerstone of any therapy in obesity, and then they go on to say that enumerate all the ways which this cornerstone fails actually. So they thought that 100 calories or less each day, they put the patients on 100 calories less each day. They were trying to achieve a weight loss of 1 pound every 5 weeks. But they had to conclude that even if you give very low calories diets, none of that works for a long time. They promptly gain their weight back. So this is the problem. Even if you lose most of your excess fat, even if you lose, you actually don't, but even if you lose on a very low calorie diet, then you are stuck with what happens now problem. What do you do after that? So, and if you lose a weight eating only 600 calories a day, or maybe even 1200, which is also very low, and is it a surprise that you gain fat once again once you go back to your normal diet? So that is why experts say that it has to be something which is followed to be a lifestyle or a lifelong program. But how can you starve yourself throughout your life because you're not getting enough of calories so that your energy levels will be high? So remain hungry. This is the problem with the low calorie diet. So actually none of them work, and yet the guidelines recommend it. So if you ask psychologists, they will tell you that it is something of a cognitive dissonance. That means it's the researchers have this is the kind of tension that results from trying to hold two incompatible beliefs simultaneously. That low calorie diet should work, and it is not working. So, in fact, Dr. Bistren was interviewed later on, that Harvard doctor, and he admitted in an interview that undereating is not a treatment or a cure for obesity. It is a way of temporarily reducing just the most obvious symptom. So let me argue that if undereating is not a treatment or a cure, this certainly suggests that overeating is not a cause either. Okay, the next one. What about exercising? Exercising more. So it is now commonly believed that sedentary, you read the WHO website, that sedentary behavior is as much a cause of our weight problem as how much we eat. And because the likelihood that people get heart disease, we get heart disease, diabetes, cancer, is always associated with obesity. So we also tend to blame the sedentary lifestyle for that. And we think that if we just exercise more, and we will be able to get rid of diabetes, we'll be able to get rid of cancer and all these metabolic diseases. How I wish that was true. It doesn't. Even those who exercise, the disease doesn't spare them. That we know very well. I have actually nothing against exercise, mind you. Please don't misunderstand me. Exercise has got tons of benefits. It increases your fitness and endurance. You get fantastic energy level boost. It improves your mental health and mood, and it improves your bone muscle. It tones your muscle. You kind of get a younger and healthier skin. It is a kind of endorphin release which keeps your moods elevated. But weight loss, no. Exercise has a lot of benefits, but weight loss due to exercise is not one of them. I'll show you how. So you just look around us. Obesity exists in a huge percentage of people who exercise regularly. You must have seen, I have seen people in gym for years together exercising away to the best of their ability, but not losing weight. And if you have a look, this is observational studies which have been done throughout the world. Nowadays, you find that poverty and obesity, they go together. Why I'm mentioning this is the poor people, the financially, economically poor people, they actually have to do a lot of physical work to earn their living most of the time, whether in the field or in the factories or somewhere in between. So these people are also very obese. So that idea that we get fat because we are sedentary, and that we can get lean or prevent ourselves from fattening further by upping our energy expenditure is actually this is actually more than 100 years old. And a lot of studies have been done, and one of the scientists is John Mayer, who tried to popularize this concept that who tried to propagate this concept that over this exercises causes weight control. But most of his studies, he is pretty vague about the hunger part, that you have to eat more when you exercise. And he has gone to the extent of suggesting that, two contradictory things, that you should exercise, but you should not exercise so much that you have to increase your food intake. This is absolutely ridiculous, because everybody knows, you must have seen that people who go for early morning jogs and exercise, they come back, while coming back they will stop for a samosa, jalebi to make up. And even if you go in a sophisticated gym, they will give you a drink which is very, very sugary. So you tend to feel hungry when you exercise. And what Dr. Mayer tried to say actually did not make sense, because the facts were something different. And then came the guidelines. The guidelines, the AHA is American Heart Association, and ACSM is American College of Sports Medicine. And they said that, if 35 minutes of moderately vigorous activity 5 days a week is necessary to maintain and promote health. But when it actually came to the question of how exercising, how exercising affects our fat or staying lean, these experts could only say that it is reasonable to assume that persons with relatively daily, and this in all conjunctures. So they said that, we hope that this kind of energy expenditure compared will likely to, these people will be less likely to gain weight in over time compared with those who have low energy. They said so far the data to support this is not particularly compelling. So they left it a little vague. And then the USDA guidelines were also there, and these were more strict. So what happened? They suggested 90 minutes of vigorous or moderately vigorous exercise, an hour and a half every day will be necessary just to maintain the weight loss. And they have suggested that weight can be lost for exercising for more than 90 minutes. So since there are studies, very few, which tell us that what happens when people exercise for more than 60 minutes, these authorities just imagined that this much exercise will make a difference. So more and more studies came. So Williamson Wood, also another group of people, scientists, who kind of said that you must exercise, keep on increasing the distance of running by few miles a week, and you keep on adding as you grow older. So I'm not going into the details. This is all is suggested. And what it ends up with it is that to keep on maintaining the weight as you age, you have to actually run literally half marathons as you grow older. And the unfortunate, which is not a practical thing. And unfortunately, this philosophy came to dominate even the scientific discussions of exercise and weight. And since we also, the doctors over here, we follow the Western guidelines, and this got propagated all over the world. And this could not be reconciled with the simple notion that appetite, the more we run like that, and the appetite will increase, and we eat more than what is expected. So so the physicians, the researchers, the exercise physiologists, all these people, trainers at the gym, took to thinking about the hunger as though it was something which existed only in the brain. So they did not pay attention to this. Okay, so is it feasible? So if we believe that calories in, calories out, and that in turn leads to conclude that we have to run half marathon 5 days a week in our 40s, in our 50s, and more in our 60s to maintain our weight. So it may once again be a time to question such beliefs. Maybe something other than calories we consume and expend that determines what we get fat. So the whole concept needs to be questioned. So here is my argument, is that if reducing calories in does not make us lose weight, and if increasing calories out does not prevent us from gaining it, then maybe we should rethink the entire thing and find out what actually does. This is, I borrowed this from Gary Taubes. Gary Taubes, those who do not know, is a medical journalist. He's one of the few medical journalists. He has a science background, but he has gone into medical journalism, and you must read his books. And he has done a detailed analysis of how nutrition science has gone completely wrong. So, so this is what you could. I was like this in 6 months. If you eat less and you exercise more, how much did I lose? I only lost 6 months. So this is what happens. I hope I'm able to convince you that this eat less and exercise more advice just does not work when you want to lose weight, when you want to get rid of your excess body fat. It just does not work. So let us come back to that calories in and calories out theory, to this the conventional teaching that here's your body, and you put in excess of calories which you put in, which you're not able to burn, becomes stored as a fat. But the real fact is something else. Because the real thing is there is some other character overplaying, and that character is the one which I've already told you, that if your insulin levels are high, then that encourages, kind of propagates or multiplies the excess of calories or excess of whatever you eat into fat storage. And only if insulin levels are down, you can get rid of that. So basically the answer is that the body is not a one compartmental model. That, like, if you see to the right hand side of the picture, that is the one compartmental model which all these calorie in calories out theory was talking about. So here, whatever you are eating, you are spending. If you are not spending, it just gets stored as glycogen, and excess of it, if your serum insulin is high, gets stored into body fat. So this becomes a two compartmental model. So if you look at it as a two compartmental model where insulin plays a role, you will come to know the real fact is that obesity is not a hormonal disorder. It is not a caloric imbalance. So that is what is, perhaps I would like to highlight and underline it for you, that obesity is a hormonal disorder. Something goes wrong with the hormone first. That is why you eat more, not the other way around. Okay, so we'll find out what. So how is the body storing energy and burning energy? So this body is in two states. The states of the body, as it is called. This is from Dr. Jason Fung. And you say you eat food. This is the fed state of the body. Your insulin goes up, as I told you. Every food that you eat influences insulin rise in some way or the other, less or more. And this increase in insulin, the excess of energy or excess of macronutrients is stored in the liver, and it produces fat in the liver, especially if you eat carbohydrates. And when you stop eating, when you go, suppose you had dinner and then you went to sleep, and when you're fasting, your insulin level falls slowly. Then you manage to burn that sugar in the liver, glycogen in the liver, and you also burn the fat in the liver if you give it sufficient time. So basically the real cause of obesity is this. Your body has basically a kind of a thermostat. So if your insulin levels are high, you gain fat. Actually, the excess of carbohydrate it's stored as fat, and that also causes your increase in leptin, and that gives you a satisfaction, and that yes, I should stop eating. But if your insulin levels are chronically high, you develop something known as leptin resistance. So what happens, that this loop does not work anymore. So you keep on eating, and insulin level remains high, and you keep on eating, and you keep on getting more and more obese. So how to address this? How to reduce this body fat? How to fight this global pandemic? How to address this problem? Is that you have to. This is a new concept which I'm going to tell you today. Is that body is like imagine a hybrid engine car. Our body is an engine which can actually run on two fuels. One is the glucose, which we all know about. The other is something known as fat, or which breaks down into something known as ketones. So, and a healthy body can switch in between those two fuels. Like a hybrid car can run on battery or on a any fuel when it switches in between these two. So the body also has something known as a metabolic switch. Now, and most of the time the problem is we are in the first one, in the glucose burning mode, and to tap into the second burning mode we need to activate this metabolic switch. So what is this metabolic switch? And I will going to tell you today. You remember this diagram which I showed you last week. So these are the macronutrients that we eat. So we eat whatever we eat can be divided into carbohydrate, either carbohydrate, protein, or fat. Okay. So, and accordingly, it affects the blood sugar. These are the blood sugar, and this is the serum insulin. The dotted line is the insulin. So when you eat a carbohydrate, especially the refined ones, it just shoots up like that, and this is then comes down, and this is protein. How protein affects the sugar, the blood sugar and the insulin. And look at that, when you eat fat, there's hardly any effect. Okay, so I will build up the concept of metabolic switch basing on this what I told you last time. So we'll take this carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and these are the three macronutrients. Okay, so you want to lose weight. So what happens is, so these three macronutrients, as I said, once you eat it, insulin comes into play. So either your body, if you take protein, so let us leave out protein out of the equation, because protein are actually building blocks of your muscles of your body. So your body uses as a fuel either carbohydrate, or it can use fat, as I said, using the metabolic switch. So we're going to consider these two, the carbohydrate and the fat. Okay, so here comes insulin. Insulin will actually decide whether your body will use carbohydrate as a fuel, or body will use a fat as a fuel. So you want to burn the fat. Okay, so what happens is, so here insulin is going to decide. So that is the one of the crucial roles of insulin. So when you eat carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates, and also the grains, or because this is just more or less, so there is a large insulin increase in the body. Okay, so this is what happens. You eat a lot of carbohydrates, the insulin level just shoots up. But if you eat a lot of fat, if you eat fat, there is no insulin effect. That I told you in the curve graph itself. So, and if you as I told you last time also, if insulin causes insulin resistance. So when that is insulin is chronically raised, the cells become resistant to it, just like an antibiotic does to any bug. So they get used to it. When you get used to a particular thing, that is called resistance. So more and more insulin is required to achieve the same effect. So basically hyperinsulinemia, and that leads to insulin resistance. So these things, hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance. So what happens is the body gets stuck into the carbohydrate burning mode. I'll show you that. So as long as the insulin is raised, the only carbohydrates are used, and excess of it is being stored as fat, and the person is becoming more and more obese. So if you want to reduce your weight, if you and burn this fat which you have in your body, you have to get your serum insulin down. That is the key of the whole issue. So you have to address the insulin resistance. Unless you address your insulin resistance, there is no point eating less. There is no point exercising. Even if you do marathons every day, you are not going to lose weight. And your weight will cling on to your body, and unless you get your serum insulin down. So once you get your serum insulin down, your fat stores come down, because it burns off the fat. I will tell you how. So if you are insulin sensitive, if you are young, if you are normal, you should be able to, metabolize both good carbohydrates, some carbohydrates and fat, and be able to switch in between the two fuels. But the problem is, if your insulin levels once again are chronically raised, if they are chronically raised, what happens? It gives rise to all kind of, not only causes insulin resistance. This I showed you, so I'm not going to tell more about this. And so to this ability to switch in between these two fuel sources when you are insulin sensitive, when your insulin is not chronically is known as a metabolic flexibility. So when you eat a little bit of carbohydrates, it's fine, the good carbohydrates, that is the vegetables, and you should be able to, when you're eating fat and burn carbohydrates also. So this is the metabolic switch. I have not imagined it. There are a lot of papers and a lot of journals have reported it. Last year NEGM made a full article on it that I will tell you in some other webinar. So basically you need to flip the metabolic switch to fight obesity. So there lies the right way. So remember that if your insulin remains high, once again I want to re-emphasize is that if you remain high on your insulin levels, your body will get stuck on the carb burning mode, in the sugar burning mode, and you will not be able to lose weight. So this is known as metabolic inflexibility, which most of us become when you have overfat in your body, when you have fat in your liver, when you have fatty liver, when you have fat around your abdominal organs. And mind you, there is another thing about exercise which I forgot to tell you about losing weight, that you can exercise your and try to lose fat which you are seeing around in your body, around your abdomen, around your backs, bumps. But the fat which is there in the liver, around your heart, around your intestines, the visceral fat, that exercise is not going to touch. For that you have to do something which is what I am talking about. You have to tap the body fuel by becoming metabolically flexible. So this is another analogy. Suppose you have once again you have a tanker which has two fuel sources. Like it has a fuel source here which it fills up. Say suppose it is another hybrid engine which can use both two kinds of fuel. One is a carb and one is so this is a say petrol and diesel, or suppose the engine can use both. So our human bodies can use carbohydrates and fat. So here, so we have a very little, if we have very little carb store, even an average person has a lot of calories stored in the body, about 70,000 calories, which can last you for more than 1.5 months, even if you don't eat anything. But our carbohydrates, actually, if you eat excess, you have to store it as glycogen and then it will be turned into fat. So this particular petrol tank is very less. So what we do is, every time this small thing fills up, we fill it up, again we go along. So but at the same time this goes on increasing and increasing. But what if you can tap this fat as a fuel? So that can be done by lowering your serum insulin levels, and there will be a connection between the two tanks. So insulin is the key to lowering the insulin is the key for accessing that fat in your body. So now you can say that your body is fat adapted. Now this is what takes time. Unless your body gets fat adapted, which means your body is able to tap into the body fat itself for fuel, you are not going to lose weight. And once you are fat adapted, mind you, you will lose weight very easily without feeling that hunger, without feeling that a constant struggling to lose weight. You will not struggle at all. You will just lose weight on your own. So what happens is that this is the period of the day. You wake up in the morning actually in a fasted state. This is a fantastic gift. I say every day that when you wake up in the morning, you have a gift from your body, a fantastic gift of nature, that your insulin levels are low. You are in the fasted state. But before you give it any further chance, you kind of consume a lot of carbs in the morning, whether it is a cornflakes and banana, or it is a puri sabji, or it is a paratha. A heavy carb meal is what we eat. And then what happens? Your insulin level shoots up just like that. and then go to the office. Then lunchtime, before lunch you feel hungry, and then you eat another snack. And so we, and before you eat, insulin levels have come down again. So the times when the insulin levels are down, some amount of fat burning takes place. So if you are a normal person, if you are not obese, so this is the fat burning which I am showing. But once again you have dinner, it goes up again. So this is how it goes on for years and years, until chronically insulin remains high. So suppose what happens, you do not consume carbohydrates for breakfast. Suppose you have, say, um, eggs fried in butter, so which is a perfect example of protein and fat. And what happens, what will happen to your insulin levels? This will remain low, and you will have, your body can access the fat in your body which is there already, and burn more fat. And rest of the day continues. You have some carbs in the lunch, and some more at dinner time. There the insulin levels remain high, but you got a longer interval here. Okay, so let's see what happens. Even your lunch, you did not have carbs. You ate something which is, say, a good amount of protein and fat combination. So what happened was, you got some more time where you did not eat carbohydrates, and you got some more time over here for your serum insulins to remain low. So let's see what happens. So a huge amount of fat burning takes place over here, and where the body is utilizing, you have activated the metabolic switch, and your body is utilizing the fat. It takes time, mind you. It will not happen in one day. For me, I did it over a period of time. Once a week, then twice a week, and just go without breakfast, or eat only fat and protein. So like that. So it took me over a period of 2 years to achieve, just something like that over here. Keep it there. Yeah. So let's see what happened. So this is the another study which describes the metabolic switch. This is from journal, Obesity journal, and how to apply the knowledge of metabolic switch. So it is very much a scientific fact, and very much applicable, and very much it works. It talks of fasting, which I think talk in a separate webinar. So what is the fuel that comes from fat? What does fat break down into? It breaks down into something known as ketones, or ketone bodies. So these are the ketone bodies which are shown in the diagram. So insulin levels are down, your body has been able to tap into your own body fat, and you have lost weight, and with the help of this ketone body. So ketone bodies, mind you, they are something fantastic. They are just fantastic. It has got many beneficial effects throughout the body, and this has been studied in laboratory animals, studied in human beings. That, let's start in the brain. It gives you enhanced cognition. It improves Alzheimer's symptoms. In the muscle, it improves your exercise capacity. That has been shown. This carb loading due to from exercising is almost a myth that I will talk about it sometime. And it causes less reduced oxidative stress. It increases metabolic rate in the fat tissue, and that is how it reduces your body fat. It improves myocardial contractility. There is a very nice study which has come out very recently, which has shown that the failing heart depends on ketones for survival. That has been shown in a study. And it is also anti-inflammatory in nature. Mind you, ketones are anti-inflammatory in nature. So if all the metabolic problems are due to inflammation, then here is your anti-inflammatory agent, the best possible, which you can generate in your own body. So this utilizing the ketones in your body is something which is very natural. It is it is not something to be afraid of. So this is known as, when you are burning or when you are utilizing ketones as a fuel, this is known as a state of nutritional ketosis. What is it? It is actually, the ketone bodies are a natural products of fatty acid metabolism, and this state, which is known as nutritional ketosis, is a product of ketone bodies which are metabolized from stored fat or dietary fat. and these increase when you fast or when dietary carbohydrates are limited. And during fasting, it goes up to 60% of brain energy needs. So what are the benefits? There is reduced stress, as I told you. There's decreased blood pressure. Your triglycerides level come down. Your HDL goes up. The good cholesterol, that is. You have decreased hunger. Here you can lose weight without even feeling hungry and anxious. Hungry, and there's a word called hangry. When you're hungry and angry, because your hunger makes you lose your mood. So, and you have increased endurance by, you can, as I told you, your body can even a normal person can store up to 80,000 calories of fat instead of just 2,000 calories of glycogen. So here is a word of caution. Many doctors, they kind of get very alarmed when they hear the word ketogenic and ketogenic diet. So mind you, this is not ketoacidosis. So ketoacidosis is something very different. That is a diabetic ketoacidosis, which occurs only, it is a dangerous medical condition, which occurs mainly in type 1 diabetes, when they don't take insulin, and especially if they are ill. So, and with people with type 2, a certain kind of medication may cause it, although it is relatively rare. That is known as a euglycemic diabetic ketoacidosis, but that is not nutritional ketosis. Nutritional ketosis is a normal state of being, and for millions of years, human beings have remained in that state. I'll show you. So it is actually studies have proven that it is actually a longevity metabolite because of all these mechanisms. So I'm not going into the details, but biochemically, it is a longevity metabolite. And it is, once again, a much more than it is a convenient, not only a convenient carrier of energy, it has important cellular signaling roles and important implications for the pathogenesis and treatment of metabolic diseases, including type 2 diabetes. That is why I put this slide in. It's so very important. So, and as I said, this is anti-inflammatory. Okay, so that come back to the reason why I took up this topic today, because you must have heard that obesity is an independent risk factor for the coronavirus epidemic, and more than any other comorbidity, it is the obese people who are suffering the most. As I told you last time, you may be 21 years old, but if you are obese, your body is absolutely on fire for many reasons. See, so in this article, this is by Dr. Asim Malhotra, cardiologist from UK, and he has said that the excess of body fat induces immune dysregulation and chronic inflammation, which is directly related to the cytokine storm. And it has been seen that nearly 72% of the patients, of the first 2,000 patients, were overweight or obese. Talking of this cytokine storm, there are two things, I'm telling to the doctors especially, and others also, if you can understand that you must have known that the coronavirus enters the body cells through a receptor known as ACE2 receptor, converting enzymes receptor, ACE receptors, angiotensin converting enzyme receptor. So the fat cells, mind you, have a lot of ACE2 angiotensin converting enzyme receptor. And the second thing is, you all must have heard that a lot of blood clots are forming. Now, what happens is, when a body is the blood is a normal circulation, blood is able to, if there is a intimal injury inside the vessel, a clot tends to form, and the plasmin actually is acted upon by something known as a plasminogen, which dissolves the clot. That is how normal flow in the blood is maintained. But sometimes, if there is an injury and a clot wants to form, the body secretes something known as plasminogen activation inhibitor, PAI inhibitor. So these fat cells, they have a lot of plasminogen activated inhibitor, which kind of, does not allow the blood to remain fluid, and clots are found. So this is the one reason, though the excess of fat cells is kind of gives a acceleration process to the cytokine storm. So what are we going to eat if you want to lose excess weight? the only advice I can give you is that eat real food, something which looks like this. Don't eat anything out of a packet, say. So, and eat the nutrition level. If you have obesity problem and metabolic problem, try to make it as low carbohydrate as possible, less than 5% on any food item. So this is what your a diet should look like. All foods which are made by nature, whether vegetables or animal fat or protein. This is what you should not eat. This is what raises your serum insulin. This is what causes insulin resistance. This is what causes all kind of metabolic disorder. Well, many of you will be disappointed to see this slide, but alcohol is a kind of a, I would say, you can consider it as a fourth nutrient. But the moment you take alcohol, what happens is the liver recognizes this as a poison. And then even if you have had some good food, real food you had, good food, healthy food you had, but if you take a lot of alcohol along with it, what will happen is the liver will give preference to alcohol to be metabolized first. So if you have had, alcohol, so the rest of the food which you have eaten will be put on hold. So the liver will not metabolize those food unless it has metabolized the alcohol first. Up to a certain extent, of course. Then after that, liver will fail. You will have alcoholic hepatitis, alcoholic fatty liver, and all that. But the liver will immediately recognizes alcohol as a poison, will metabolize it first and get rid of it. Till then, your normal metabolism of other food is kept on hold. That is why, that goes into storage, and you tend to put on weight while you when you drink a lot of alcohol. And things like beer, they are just liquid carbohydrates, nothing else. So, okay, so what should be the nutrition strategy for your weight loss? So this, let me tell you something about this image. This is from Dr. Benjamin Bickman. I told you last time also. And all the illustrations which you showed him are courtesy from him. And he is known as the insulin scientist. And he has come out with a fantastic book known as Why We Fall Sick. You can read the book. It's really, really good. So he says you should control your carbs as much as possible. Prioritize your protein to get enough protein. Protein requirement is more than what we think. It should be around 1.2 to 1.7 grams per kg, but very few people, especially in our country, even the so-called non-vegetarians take very, very less protein. And your real fuel should be fat. Fat is the healthy fuel. That is the concept I would like to tell you today also. Your bodies can use fat or ketones much better than it can use carbohydrates. So control your carbohydrates so that your insulin level comes down. Proteins, you should prioritize, eat good amount of protein, and that should be natural proteins. So that will be a building blocks, and use fat as a fuel. Fat means healthy fat, saturated fat which exists in nature, not the processed saffrola, canola, and all those high omega-6 oils which are direct inflammatory agents. So once again, for millions of years, we have hardly had these foods that we are having today. Like even if you look at the discovery of agriculture, it is only just like yesterday. Even before that, what we used to eat were neither grains nor the refined carbohydrates, nothing that all these chemically or genetically modified foods. And believe me, our bodies have become sicker after this, after the development of agriculture. It was much less till the last 50 years back. And now the explosion of not only processed, but ultra processed food, which has kind of made our bodies like this today. So you have to take this perspective into consideration, the perspective of not a couple of 100 years or 1,000 years, the perspective of millions of years. It is said that anthropologists will tell you that this particular stage, this is known as just before the invention of agriculture, the Cro-Magnons, human beings were the Homo sapiens were the healthiest. They were nearly 7 feet or more tall, and their brain size were 1700 grams, mind you. Today, our brain size has shrunk 20%. It is about 1500 grams now. So that is what has happened. So this is very, very alarming. So if you want a take-home capsule, obesity is, mind you, a hormonal disorder, not a caloric imbalance. Eat less and exercise more just does not work. It is the insulin resistance. It is a hormonal source. So insulin is the hormone. It is insulin resistance that needs to be addressed. A low carb or a very low carb diet is a viable option, mind you. I put it in comas because I've taken this straight out of the American Diabetes Association guidelines of 2020. A low carb, a very low carb diet is a viable option. These are not my words. These are words from the ADA guidelines. So for doctors, please, you should know this. Avoid direct inflammatory agents. The body has actually a set weight, so and will fall automatically into that weight once your metabolism becomes normal. So see, this is what is the thing. This is from Jason Fung. This is what is the thing. You correct your metabolism, the weight will automatically fall in place. You don't have to go after running and eating less and trying to normalize your weight. Normalize your metabolism, and accordingly, when your whatever is normal weight for your body, that will is just like a picture which will fall into place. So that is what I wanted to tell you today. Okay, so this is you can connect with me on my social media. There is a Facebook group actually over here, which I just formed last week. So the name of the Facebook group is same as the topic. Are you as healthy as can be? So as I always say, this is not the end of the conversation. This is just the beginning of the conversation, and you can continue it over there. You have questions, you can ask me today. You can ask me over there later on. Try and best to answer. Yes, Vidisha.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we have a lot of questions coming
Right.
in. So I'll go with that one
Can
by
I go
one.
back to your this thing,
So,
or should I? So I can see the chat and questions now.
yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Okay, so I can see Tripti asking me a question. Tripti, in case of PCOD and PCOS, what is the kind of diet I would suggest? A very low carb diet, I would say. Once again, I told last time that PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is one of the diseases where hyperinsulinemia has been accepted as a cause even by mainstream medicine. So everything what I told you today applies. It can be easily reversed by eating a very low carb diet and addressing the insulin. Once the insulin level falls, you will automatically find PCOD going away, and that can actually happen. Uh, the second time you are asking me, I think I'll have a full session on PCOD. Does fully processed food good to eat? Not at all. Not at all. If you break something from a packet and it has got more than one component, the only processed food I can think of is maybe butter, which is a little bit made in the factory and but which is good. But other than that, anything biscuits, cookies, mixtures, anything out of a packet. These are not only processed, mind you, these are ultra processed, and these are even if you're innocent looking biscuit with you, which you have your tea in the morning, they will tell you things like what is that? Digestive biscuits. Oh my god, digestive biscuits and whatnot biscuits, multigrain biscuits like multigrain breads. So these are a biscuit is a bomb. It is a combination of refined carbohydrates. It is a combination of sugar and trans fats. So refined carbs, a lot of sugar, trans fats combined together is a bomb. It just shoots up your insulin sky high. So it is not innocent at all. having two biscuits in the morning with your morning chai is not a good idea. Okay, a lot of questions from Tripti. How many ketones are needed? Well, there is no way to actually. You can measure ketone levels. There are ketone sticks available, blood ketone sticks available. So some 3.5 micrograms is the millimole rather. But then start on your diet. You can later on, when you become an expert in expert ketosis, you can measure. So around 3 would be a normal. Giridhar, shall we recommend the keto diet to reduce weight? Yes, definitely, but make sure that the person, you understand it, and the person whom you tell it to, they understand it very well. Okay. Shweta, how should be intermittent practice intermittent fasting? Shweta, I'm going to talk about intermittent fasting a full session. So that is so important a topic that I've kept it aside. I'm going to discuss one by one the metabolic problems. Like today I discuss obesity. Maybe next time I'll discuss diabetes. It is so very important. And then bring in intermittent fasting as the most powerful tool to deal with that. But then if you are used to fasting, I would say start gradually. Don't jump into it. Start gradually, and it's fantastic. You can lose weight without hunger. Okay, Tripti, once again, how to activate the metabolic switch? By eating a low carb diet, by eating a ketogenic diet, and that it once again it depends on what are your conditions, how old you are, how much insulin, how much insulin resistance you have, all this, how metabolically healthy you are. The more metabolically inflexible you are, the more rigid or the more strictly you will have to follow all these things like ketogenic diet and then intermittent fasting. So the healthier you are, maybe you can get away, but I would not take it for granted. So everybody has a carbohydrate tolerance limit, as I said. You have to eat within that. Is fasting good for a diabetic? I will discuss that in the fasting. Especially a diabetic patient with medication, you have to be extremely careful. I have helped that patient, but you have to work with your doctor. You have to monitor hypoglycemia, which can occur. So it has to be done very, very close monitoring. Doctor, normal insulin level, fasting level should be very, very low, around 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 micro units, I think. Yeah. So get your insulin levels done, and then you can do something known as insulin ratio, HUMA IR it is called. I'll talk about it once again later. Jyoti, what are the certain points to know when we recommend dietary resistance for PCOD? PCOD, once again, I just talked about it. Very low carb or ketogenic diet, and maybe fasting also can be incorporated. That will generate the maximum of reduce your insulin levels to the maximum, and that will generate maximum amount of ketones in the body. Arnav had some connectivity problems. Rudradeep, was there any connectivity? Audio stopped. Okay. Can't see any other question.
So one new question has come up.
Yeah.
Mr. Palash, do we get into ketosis with IF, say 18:6?
Yeah, 18:6 is pretty good. I would say even if you do 16:8, like 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating time, that is enough. And then next step is 18:6. You will not going to leave me anything with the intermittent fasting session, is it? Okay. Yeah, answer is yes. You can get into ketosis, but at the same time, you must remember that in your 6 hours of eating window, please do not eat junk food. Just because you have fasted for 18 hours doesn't mean that you can have a Coke, you can have a pizza, and a lot of chicken rather fried chicken from these sources, and that will completely take away the benefits of the fasting. You want to combine, get the maximum benefit, combine your fasting with a ketogenic diet. That will give you the maximum benefit. Okay.
So, so Dr. Aditya has a question that do you
Yes,
recommend a keto diet for non-diabetics with normal weight as a measure to improve their health?
of course. So diabetes is a metabolic derangement. So you can use the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting to deal with it. But if a normal person wants to have it, well and good. It will improve your health even more. It will increase, not only improve your metabolic parameters, it will, as I said, your ketones are your longevity molecule. It goes, let me tell you something, it goes down to your every cell in the body. The ketogenic diet is a very powerful hormonal intervention because it affects your hormones. It is more powerful than, it is like giving a corticosteroid hormone, which is so powerful a drug. Here you are actually manipulating your hormones, or rather bringing it down to what it should be. So it is an intervention which goes down to right into your every cell. You know what happens? There are very nice studies which have shown that your mitochondria in every cell has a nucleus and also has a mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse. Now if your serum insulin remains high, your mitochondria becomes sluggish. If your serum insulins are low, your mitochondria gives you more energy. This is as simply as I can put it. Maybe someday I can show you the study. So the ketones go down and affect each and every cell of your body. After some time, when you get used to, when you become fat adapted, you will know, that your body has become much more energetic. Your body will, you're able to focus so much sharper. You're able to work throughout the day and not feel hungry at all. Like my last meal finished at 10 p.m. yesterday. I worked the whole day and now I'm talking to you. I'm not hungry at all. So this is the kind of energy you will get. You can be so very productive, so very healthy, and enjoy your good health. So you don't wait till you get obese. Don't wait till you get diabetes. Address your metabolic health and remain healthy. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Mr. Arnav has a question that what about hard cheese?
What is that? Cheese. Okay.
Yes.
Hard. Okay. In the category of I would say, I'm going to use the word insulinogenic foods. Cheese is very good. It is not milk, but it is a dairy product, and I would say best is ghee, then butter, and then cheese. So a little bit of when the cheese process making, little bit of hardening occurs. So, but cheese is very good. It is part of a ketogenic diet. You can break your fast if you want to. Have a 4 hour, say 20 is to 4 you are doing, or you just having breakfast, or you want to have only cheese for lunch. It is fine. When you are having a protein and a carb kind of a lunch, cheese is very good. So cheese is good. Yes, you can have it.
Okay.
It is not very insulinogenic.
And Miss Roy has a question that can you tell us which cooking oils are good or bad? Like, can we use mustard oil or rice bran oil? Is it acceptable
Yeah.
to use?
Okay, I'll just answer briefly because I plan to do a full session on vegetable oils. Mind you, uh, I'll tell you what is the worst. All these white, industrially processed vegetable oils, the safolas, the canolas, and the white colored sunflower oils, there's nothing vegetable around them, mind you. They are just seeds which has been processed at 1200 degrees centigrade and cooled down and refined, and the color taken, they look. And if you look at a factory which manufactures vegetable oils, they just look like a petrol refinery factory. It is terrible. I mean, these are direct inflammatory agents. They can directly, without any mechanism, cause, they also increase your insulin resistance, and they also cause inflammation of the body. So one of the reasons why there has been obesity epidemic and heart disease epidemic are these vegetable oils, in addition to processed foods. So a combination of processed food in a vegetable oil like this is deadly. So what can you cook with? Go back to our traditional cooking medium. I think for India, for ages, for millenniums, our cooking media, best cooking medium has been ghee. My grandmother used to cook in ghee, and then gradually somehow something happened in the 80s and 90s. We all change over to this so-called marketed heart healthy vegetable oils, which is anything but that. So ghee, and I would say coconut oil also, but that is a very region specific coconut oil. We Bengalis can't tolerate the smell of coconut oil, but I love it. So ghee, coconut oil, butter, olive oil is good, but olive oil is not very stable at very high temperatures. So it is good for putting into salads. So these are the oils which you can use as a cooking medium. Mustard oil, yeah, somebody asked. Well, somewhere in between, because it is not a oil which is processed at 1200 degrees centigrade. I would give it some leeway because it is a cold pressed oil, but it has a little bit of taste and smell which not everybody can. Once again, it is region specific. Okay, so but I will deal more with the vegetable oils later on. Okay, so any other question?
So last question has come from Mr. Amit Banerjee, that how do
Ah,
you rate
hi,
virgin
good
oil?
evening, Amit. How do you?
Rate virgin oil.
Virgin what? Olive oil, virgin olive oil.
Yes,
He
maybe
must be
that.
meaning he must
Yes.
be meaning olive oil. Yeah, as I said, there are actually some studies have shown that olive oil can also be used as cooking, but there is only those studies are one or two. But as of now, I would say that do not deep fry or do not cook in olive oil. You can use olive oil as a salad dressing. It is very good. And olive oil, to make your other food, a little bit of added to make your food tasty, instead of margarine or something. Butter would be the best, but yes, olive oil can be used uh, as a salad additive, and little bit of sauteing maybe, but not as a cooking media as yet. Maybe more studies are awaited, we can recommend it later on. So that's olive oil. It's healthy. It is a fatty, healthy fat, olive oil.
So I think we have taken all
uh,
the questions, sir. So we are done
okay,
with
that's
all
very
the
good.
questions.
But let me tell the participants that if there are any more questions, you can ask me in my Facebook group. Join there and ask me later on. And once again, thank you very very much. I hope you understood what I have tried to tell you today. I'm just trying to kind of lay down the basis or the foundation for my future talks by bringing in concepts like insulin resistance, like ketones, like your what I told you today, the metabolic switch. So this is the language which you are going to talk in our future seminar. So the idea is that you should enjoy good health without medication. Medications do not give you good health. As I said last time, food is healthcare. Medicine is not healthcare. Medicine is sick care. So you don't allow yourself to become sick. So I thank all of you once again, and I wish you good health.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful session.
Yeah,
And
thank
I
you.
would tell all the
Thank you.
participants
Yeah,
to give their feedbacks. They'll receive
yeah,
a link for the feedbacks.
yeah.
And after they
It's
fill in
very
the
important.
feedbacks, right.
Yeah, I really need your feedback so that I can, you know, go accordingly. I will take up topics and address them.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Yes,
and
sir.
good night.
Thank you very much, sir.